Hey guys, welcome to this video. My name is John Watson. This is a video series that I've been wanting to do for a while and thought, well, I'll go ahead and do it today. And that is to start going through the actual text of the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, the FDCPA. And so my intention is to take one section per video. And I thought about doing this on a like a PDF or a Word document and just going through, kind of scrolling through it, but at least I'm going to try it this way. Give me your feedback if you find this to be helpful. I'll kind of break down each section on some different slides and we'll go through it that way. So the very first section is 15 USC section 1692, and the title of this is Congressional Findings and Declaration of Purpose. So if we want to know why did Congress pass the FDCPA, what did they find as they investigated that, this is where we go. And this is very important for us when we're suing abusive debt collectors. And so here are the first two parts of 1692. So section A is abusive practices, B is inadequacy of law. So if we look at abusive practices, it says not just that there's a tiny little bit, but there's abundant evidence of abusive, deceptive, unfair debt collection practices. And it says not by a couple or by some rogue debt collectors, but by many debt collectors. And so that's in the very first sentence of the very beginning of this statute is there's a whole bunch of evidence of abusive, deceptive, unfair collection practices by a whole bunch of debt collectors. And then we would ask ourselves, well, so what? What's the problem with that? Well, that's this next sentence. Abusive debt collection practices contribute to four things: personal bankruptcies, marital instability, loss of jobs, invasion of privacy. And so what Congress is saying is, look, we looked at this, and when you have abusive debt collection, that forces people into bankruptcies that they would not file otherwise. People just say, I can't take this anymore, I'm filing bankruptcy. It causes marital strife and divorces because people are under all this stress, not because of the debt itself, that's legitimate. But when we have abusive debt collection, then that can cause problems in marriages. It causes people to lose their jobs when they're being called at work and they tell the collector, don't call me at work anymore. That can cause the loss of jobs, or just being so distracted or so upset over abusive debt collection. And then this last one, invasion of personal or individual privacy. And most states have a law that's called invasion of privacy. And here we have the FDCPA saying, we recognize that when you have abusive, deceptive, unfair debt collection, that often leads to invasion of privacy. And in basically every Fair Debt Collection Practices Act case we also bring account for invasion of privacy. And then we have this section B, inadequacy of laws. And frankly, this is still true in most places, that the existing laws are just not good enough. Now, we do have some states, for example, Florida, that has its own version of the FDCPA, a state version, and that's great. That's wonderful. But, for example, in Alabama, we don't have this. So this is still true, inadequacy of laws. Now let's look at section C. It says available non-abusive collection methods. And this is very important because oftentimes when we sue debt collectors and they realize that they can't lie about what they did, they say, okay, well, we did it, but we have to do it that way in order to collect debts. And then they start talking about how important it is to collect debts and how the whole economy would come undone if we couldn't collect debts. Well, here's what Congress says. Means other than misrepresentation or other abusive debt collection practices are available. And then they say, for the effective collection of debts. So it's not just that you can collect debts without lying or being abusive or being unfair. It's you can effectively collect debts without breaking the law. And then this last part may seem a little odd. It's called interstate commerce. It just says, look, debt collection affects interstate commerce. They put this in there because really for federal laws to apply, it has to impact interstate commerce. And so we won't get into that. That's sort of a long subject or long discussion. But Congress can decide that what's happening here affects interstate commerce. And if you look at most debt collection, people are using the phone, they're using credit reporting, they're using the postal service, and it's crossing state lines. But even if it doesn't, they say it still affects interstate commerce. So the final part is E, so the purpose. So we ask ourselves, why did Congress pass the FDCPA? Why did the president agree to this? And they say it's the purpose of this to eliminate abusive debt collection. Well, that makes a lot of sense. They're going to tell us what abusive debt collection is, and they want to eliminate that. But then look at this next part. To ensure that those debt collectors who refrain from using abusive debt collection practices are not competitively disadvantaged. So let's say that in more normal language. If you're a debt collector and you follow the law, you should not be penalized because you got these other collectors out there that are breaking the law and making all the money. So think about it in a football game. You can have 11 players on the field. Well, why don't we let teams have 12 players or 13 players? Well, because that would put the guys that are following the rules at a disadvantage. And so really the FDCPA is to protect consumers from abusive debt collection. It's also to protect those honest, law-abiding, honorable debt collectors who do follow the law. Because you should not be penalized for following law. You should be rewarded for following the law. And if your competition is out there breaking the law, then they should be punished. And so that's what the FDCPA is trying to do here. So if you have questions or comments, feel free to put those below in the comment section. If you like this video, like it. And definitely hit subscribe if you like this series, because there will be quite a few videos in this series as we take each section. And some of these sections are really long, and we'll break them up into multiple videos. So that way you'll make sure and get all the new videos that come out on this. And let me know what you think of this format, if you like it, and if there are other laws that you'd like me to go through, kind of literally going through the text of it. And my plan is I'll release one of these a day is probably the pace that we'll be on. I've got a little bit of stretch here where I'm not in trials. I've just had a very busy section or period of time here where a ton of trials have been set. So I've got a little bit of break. I can knock out some videos. And always appreciate you guys commenting and giving me your feedback and asking questions, and I'll help you any way that I can. Okay, have a good one. Thanks. Bye-bye.